It is the pernicious purveyor of preposterous pomposity, the paragon of pugilistic punditry. Here once again at the Berman Law Group podcast studio with another edition of the Berman Team Podcast. This is actually my birthday edition of the podcast. 49 and feeling fine. And speaking of fine, we have the finest woman in entertainment, in sports. You've seen her in WWE. You've seen her in AEW. You've seen her on Impact Wrestling. There is none hotter than the mistress of wrestling, Renee Michelle. Lady Renee.
Hey, guys.
Oh. I'm going to have a seat, young lady. Oh, my God.
Oh, the seat for me. Right here.
Yes. Well, welcome to Berman Law Group and welcome to the Berman Team Podcast.
Awesome. You like the whip?
Oh, I love it. You know, I'm a man who loves some pain with my pleasure and pleasure with my pain.
Oh, I love pleasure and pain all together.
Well, I'll tell you, it is an absolute honor for me to have you here, especially on the birthday edition of the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward.
I got to take my glasses off. You are absolutely mesmerizing.
Oh, you don't look too bad or shabby yourself, my love.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, I've got to say that we met in Daytona Beach a couple months ago.
Yes.
We were both on a show there, right on A1A, right on the water, and I was having a rough day. You know, my dad had just recently passed away, and you brightened up my day when I saw you in the back in the locker room, and we got to talking, and I said, I have got to get the gorgeous mistress of wrestling here on the show.
Well, I'm glad I brightened your day, but my condolences to you and your family.
Thank you. I absolutely appreciate it. Now, let's talk about your upbringing, because I understand that you were raised in the Commonwealth of Virginia, out in the country.
Oh, yes. So I was born in, country, city, all the above, you can name it. So I was born in Washington, D.C. Part of my life was raised in the DMV area, like Virginia. I lived a little bit in Maryland as well, like Bethesda, Gaithersburg area. For Virginia, I also went to Woodford Senior High School. And I lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia for quite some time as well. So I have a little bit of like a city and country or suburbanness to me, as well as that was half of my life. And then the other half of my life, I was also raised in Pensacola, Florida, as well as Miami Beach. And I
didn't know that.
Yes, and I currently live like 30 minutes outside of Orlando, Florida. Yeah,
you live in a beautiful place. You're out there in the country, and I understand some of the activities you like out there. You love horseback riding, archery.
Yes. Yeah, I'm more of an outdoorsy type of, woman. And, like, granted, if I wanted to go in the city, it's just 30 minutes drive to get to there. If I want to get away from, the city and the combust of everything, then I go back to my little domain, being one with nature.
Definitely. Now, how on earth did you get into the professional wrestling business? There's a crazy story there.
Okay, so September 1st, 2012, I was dragged to my first wrestling show with an Impact, and it was in Bowie, Maryland. And I never grew up on wrestling, never watched wrestling, have no idea about the world of wrestling until older gentleman there, he chased after me. His name was Gilbert.
The fans will know him.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Gilbert. He was kind of the the spoof on Bill Goldberg
Mm-hmm.
in WWF, WWE.
Yeah, so he convinced me. He go like, "Look, you have a great look. Have you ever thought about becoming a professional wrestler?" I told him, "Absolutely not." He wouldn't take no for an answer. He asked for my name. I told him my name was Renee Michelle. Even back then, before wrestling, I always went by Renee Michelle. He found me on my socials. He still begged and convinced me. I caved in. And during the time, Gilbert had a school and I wouldn't want to say around Tacoma. I forgot exactly where, but it was called Gilbert's Pro Wrestling Academy. So I was there for about 3 months. I say I started in December, after him convincing me for quite some time. And within 3 months of that, it shut down. Now, the reason for that, I don't know, but I guess it's a thing that, schools, they pop up, they're up for quite some time, they shut down. Not all schools, but there's some. And I was able to meet like a man named Dick Karakoff, and Dick Karakoff was able to introduce me to Dan McDevitt.
Maryland Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess like back in the day, he used to go by Corporal Punishment, but now he opened up a school called Maryland Pro Wrestling Academy. Before, I guess his it used to be known as Bone Breakers, where like Mickey James came from and Lita and all of them.
Mm-hmm. The Hardy Boys, right?
Mm-hmm. So from all of that, Dan, he's always been like a wrestling dad for me. He took me underneath his wing. And, within March 29, 2013 was when I was thrown into the wolves at the last minute to have my first wrestling match. And it was a tag match. It was like 3-on-3. But, I felt like I wasn't ready. But since I guess, one person decided to no-show, it's like sink or swim type of thing. But then as well, that was like my first wrestling match that I ever had to do. But beforehand, I was thrown into as a manager for heel, so I was the first manager for Black Wall Street.
Bad girl for Black Wall Street. Yeah,
Black Wall Street for MCW, and I had no idea about anything about being a manager, and no one ever taught me that. But I guess that's the story of my life: just throwing her into wolves and see if you sink or swim.
Well, you definitely swam throughout your career, but let's go back.
More like doggy paddle, but like.
Just to backtrack a little bit, you did grow up as a martial artist. So tell people about that.
Yeah, so I started doing martial art at the age of 4. I stopped doing it when I hit 18 years old. So I started doing Taekwondo, then Muay Thai, then Capoeira and Kung Fu, which is known as Chuli Fut. And as far as weapons, I did spear, staff, and sais. So at age 14, I had an opportunity to go and compete in Korea. Obviously, my mother wasn't having it. She turned that down. But that's how I transitioned into learning into weapons. So since my Taekwondo instructor couldn't get me over to go to Korea to compete, he made sure I learned how to do weapons.
So you're a dangerous woman. I can see with that whip, you know weapons.
Yes, it's my specialty.
I love it. So did you grow up a wrestling fan, a fan of professional wrestling?
No, not at all. I never knew anything about it. I wish I was like a wrestling fan. I wish I grew up watching wrestling at a very young age, and maybe it would probably help me in my younger career, like a more in-depth of it all. But just like with anything, any job that you learn, you get better as you progress as the years pass by. Like,
sure.
Yeah, it's like aging like fine wine. It's kind of bitter at the beginning, but after a while it has like a finer taste.
Speaking of wine, we're going to be joined later by Massimo Battista. We're going to be sampling some of his fine wines here for my birthday party.
Yay, I love it. I love it.
Awesome. So when you got into the wild and wacky world of professional wrestling, who were some of your opponents? Who was your toughest opponent?
Oh, gosh. I would say my toughest opponent, I have about 2. So I would say Melina, because her and I go way back when we used to wrestle at MCW, and then we wrestle in Barbados together. And Barbados, they haven't had a wrestling match since 1989. And that was really great. Like I would say about like maybe like 2-3 years ago, Millie and I like wrestled each other, over in Barbados, and I absolutely love it, and I love like the energy of the people over in Barbados. I wouldn't mind going back again, but who knows when the next time they're gonna have a wrestling show. They had one. The last one they had is 1989, so then they had one like 3 years ago. So who knows when's the next time, if ever. And then my second toughest opponent is Mickie James. So. For whatever.
And she came through Maryland Championship Wrestling too,
yeah,
right?
And she's from the Richmond. She's from the Richmond area, and I used to live over in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So we're like 45 minutes away from each other during that time. Oh. But now like she lives over in Tennessee. But we're all like in that room, that area together. But she's a tough cookie. Every time I get in the ring with her, there's something about Mickie. Like I get nervous with her because it's like I want to learn so much about her, but it's like as sweet as can be that she is, she's a tough cookie. The moment that she gets her hands on, she have like those strong country hands.
She's a country girl. I thought it was really cool how she came into WWE, Mickie James, and that was as a stalker of Trish Stratus.
Yes. Do you love me now?
Yeah, that was it. Oh, that was great. That was very, very entertaining.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it. And then before that, she was known as Alexis Lorray, But, that gimmick, like the crazy stalker gimmick, that's her. She does have crazy in the eyes,
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So we talked about Paige Van Zandt going into professional wrestling. She started out as a ring girl and then competing in the UFC. Mm-hmm. That's a match I would love to see, is you versus Paige Van Zandt.
Oh, I'm all up for it. I'm not picky. I would like to get, to be able to have opportunity to almost every girl out there in the business. I would not mind having a match against Paige. So far, my top match I would love to be able to have right now is the professor herself, Serena Deebs.
Yeah, definitely. You're so, not only are you so stunning, so breathtaking, but your matches, I really appreciate you. You're a great wrestler. You're a great technical wrestler, and you're a formidable opponent for anyone, even like a Paige Van Zandt. But what a lot of fans know you most from in WWE, and this is kind of wild, is when you were in WWE with your husband.
Yes.
Your real life wedding.
Yes.
Became a part of the show.
Yeah.
And that's a story I want you to tell that story, because it's pretty wild. This was her actual wedding.
Yes, it was my actual wedding. So before that, I was in WWE, did the first Mae Young Classic, and right before that, I was doing the Rosebud, like with Adam Rose. Like,
with Adam Rose. Yep,
yeah,
I remember.
I was
that.
a Rosebud.
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of people forgot about that. Thank God. But other than that, like during the time I was doing the Rosebud, I guess a lot of people recognize me dressing up as Laura Croft, like Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Or either Catwoman, but then got into Mae Young Classic, wrestled against the first Mae Young Classic, wrestled against Candice LeRae, and she had a lot of experience and years on me. So as small as she is a firecracker. And then the wedding, the craziness of the wedding. So I think like a lot of people, they get this weird misconception that any regular Joe Blow, would be ticked off about like their wedding being ruined. But if you're asking like Renee Michelle, Curtin, like the actual regular, me, no, I wasn't mad. But if you're asking Renee Michelle Maverick, from WWE, absolutely yes. I'm fuming. It's my wedding. I thought it was like the coolest thing. So I did not know about the idea until 2 days prior to my wedding.
So we got to backtrack. So 2 days before your wedding, and
yes.
And your wedding was a elaborate ceremony. I mean, you wore that dress that rivaled Lady Di's. You looked so incredibly gorgeous in that red dress, that long flowing tail on the end of the dress, which became part of the whole thing that was going on there with the fight and that happened at the wedding.
God.
This is your wedding. Your family is there.
Yeah.
Your grandmother, your 90-year-old grandmother is there.
Yeah.
And your husband walking down the aisle, and he gets tackled. They're coming for his 24/7 belt. Oh, this is crazy. This is a real wedding.
It's the most craziest thing ever. So I did have some family members that was completely confused. You know, like my uncles and like my aunts was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" But obviously, you know, it was too late to even like clue them up what's happening. You know, my grandmother, she had to get wheeled down to cocktail hour because it's like, God forbid, I don't want her to have a stroke or a heart attack. You know, from watching all the chaos that's happening, you know, bless her heart. You know, she already did through a fit that I was wearing a red wedding dress, but then when she saw it, she absolutely fell in love with it. You know, so can you imagine if she like saw the chaos right after?
Oh my.
Like that wouldn't look good. So yeah, like I did not know the details or everything 2 days prior to the wedding. I thought it would be at the you know, the reception, not the ceremony, but 2 hours prior to me walking down. Then that's when I found out it's during the ceremony.
What did Vince McMahon's tell you this? Who told you this?
I have no idea. I'm just going with the flow. I'm like, well, I mean, okay. I mean, can we do the real thing first and then after do that? You know, because like, how are we going to explain this to my grandmother? How are we going to explain this to like my uncles and my aunt? You know, and you know they're not wrestling fans. They don't know anything about this. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not from that realm of that world. You know, it's just. I was like, okay, you know, I mean, like, I need a few drinks for this.
Well, that was wild. And then, you know, as that whole 24/7 progressed in WWE, you and your husband never got to, as you said in these promos, you never got to consummate the marriage. You never got your honeymoon.
No, we still haven't got our honeymoon. Still as of today, you know.
Still haven't got the honeymoon.
Still haven't got the honeymoon. I'm still waiting on it. Like our schedule is just so hectic and busy right now. I mean, I would like to have a honeymoon, but you know, I mean, honestly, it's not like I'm in like Rebby or Matt's situation, Matt Hardy and Rebby Hardy. You know, she still haven't had a honeymoon. She's been with Matt for like 10 years.
Wow.
And she still haven't had a honeymoon. Like, you know, God bless her soul.
Where do you want to go for your honeymoon?
That's a good one. I mean, I wouldn't mind like Azulik, Tulum. You know, Tulum would be nice. Maybe like Bora Bora, like somewhere nice and tropical and like clear blue waters, you know.
Yeah, love
fresh
that.
food.
I'll tell you, my favorite beach in the world is Mondello. Mondello Beach in Sicily, and that water is like a swimming pool. It's like a giant swimming pool, and they have the villas right there on the water. Great food. Mm-hmm. I would recommend that spot. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you gotta show me pictures later.
I will show you some pictures.
Like somewhere nice and tropical and warm, you know, and like, you know, fresh food. I'm a foodie, you know. Like even though I look skinny, I look like a little skinny.
Well, you're in luck, as you know, because I cook for you.
Oh, see, a man after my own heart. It's food.
I made you one of my specialty dishes. You know, it's lighter here, coming in with all the heat, especially here in Florida. It's almost summertime. We're in June, and I made you a soy and San Pellegrino a turkey tenderloin, and I made you some marinated grilled asparagus for today. So
that sounds delicious.
We're gonna have that with the wines from Massimo.
That is perfect. Good food and wine on top of that. I love it.
Yes, I love it. I'm a chef. I love to cook. To cook for a woman as beautiful as you for my birthday.
Oh man, my husband's in trouble. I'm sorry, honey. No, I cook. Believe it or not, I'm on some aspects I'm a little old fashioned. You know, like I
love that.
Kind of like the male female gender roles. You know, some aspects of that.
Yeah, that's great. What are some of your favorite dishes to cook?
Oh gosh, so my favorite dishes is ropa vieja. It's a Cuban dish. It's like a shredded flank with like black beans and rice, and then mondoros, which is like a sweet plantains with.
I know those plantains.
What I like to do, I like to use the sugar and everything to make like a syrup, like a sugar syrup on top of that.
That sounds good.
And then I went to this restaurant, and it's called Cowfish, and you know they have like these mini little sushi. Like type of burgushi, like it's like a burger and a sushi all at once. So I decided to make something like that, but instead of like the little sushi forms, I actually made it into like a giant. it looked like a giant meatloaf, but when you cut in the center, it's like a giant roll. So I call it like a hamburger roll, like,
Oh, that sounds
so it's
good.
like all the hamburgers, like I have the meat and the cheese and the spinach and all of that, like swirl into one. So I
All
kind of
together.
roll it, yeah, all together,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
roll it up and I bake it in the oven and everything, and I served, like a bunch of my Deeps, like Serena and a bunch of the guys and girls. They're like, "Is Renee coming over? Is she cooking?" So
That sounds delicious. I love to stuff meat too. Over the weekend, I
mm-hmm.
stuffed. I made gorgonzola and garlic stuffed
Yeah.
steak. So I stuff it before I grill it,
Mm-hmm.
put it on the grill, and it's
Yeah.
delicious. I love to. I've always loved to cook.
Yeah, same here. Or I make like the fire layer, baked mac and cheese, but get each different layer of different type of cheese.
Different cheese. Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
different
great.
cheese, and then I add the guota on top. Or gosh, I made like parsley lemon baked, turkey with bacon strips on top of it.
Oh, it sounds
like when
awesome.
people when they make the turkey during the holiday, the breast always gets dry, but if you add the bacon strips on top of it, it keeps the moisture there. And then you can use the bacon strips and tomatoes and all the juice and everything to make your own turkey gravy, with the mashed potatoes and...
Sounds great. That's why when you grill turkey, like when I grilled this turkey, you have to continually baste it while you're grilling it. Take it off and baste it to keep it moist. To keep it from
or like collard greens or like honey, butter, honey, cornbread. So it's like a mixture between...
Yeah.
Or like I'll make like Yorkshire pudding. So it's like, no... I like watching like Gordon Ramsay dishes, so I make some of that like incorporate like the American dishes and Southern dishes, and wherever that I go, even when I went to Japan, I learned some of the dishes out there. When I went to England, I learned some of the dishes there. Even like wherever I go, I'm learning some of these dishes, or like Filipino food. Like
I love Filipino. I love the Filipino barbecue that I make with pork and
pork
pineapples.
sinigang. I make that.
Oh yeah. That's good. You're the perfect woman, actually.
Oh, thank y'all. So I try.
So let's talk a little bit about something interesting that you have going on as well. You are studying to become a priestess.
Yes. So currently, right now, with the religion that I was born under, is called Lukumi. Other people will known to be called it Santeria. So during the time is like a religion back in the day that was hidden during the conquering, before like color or skin color was a thing. It was a conquering of religions, and so the originally came from like over in Nigeria, from the Yoruba tribe, and they call it Lukumi. So then when the Spaniards and Catholicism and all that stuff took over, in order to trick the slave masters back then, we replaced the faces with Catholic faces. So you came over, you saw like the altar, like what it looked like, and you said like, oh, this would look really beautiful, and I had to explain to you like what it was.
Yeah, the dolls in this setup, I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, so but then if you actually look at the actual faces of it, they look really hideous. But those who are not born underneath it or don't understand it, they think it's like voodoo or something like that. But like that's how people think when they don't understand.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. It's like the language, like in South Carolina, I told you, they have like the Gullah and the Geechee language.
Yeah.
Just like a hidden language they had to hide from the slave masters.
Yes. It's the same thing, but now like, you have like Latin speakers and, still like, the back in the day, the Yoruba tribe, language intertwine all into one with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's awesome. So what's the process like? How long before you'll officially become a priestess?
It's forever, and God forbid if I have to wear white for a whole year. So it's a long process. It's always something new.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, did you have aspirations to do that all your life?
No, not at all. Like, my family is very diverse. So, but like my grandmother, she was Baptist. Some of my family members, they were Christian and Catholic. I dated a guy and I tried Buddhism before. I've been over in Japan, lived over in Japan for like about a year, and I tried Shintoism, but somehow I still reverted back to Lukumi or Santeria, but that's more so my calling card. I'm not the type of person that press like religion onto others. It's like, you could believe whatever you like, just as long as like don't be a dick, you know,
Yeah.
like as long as something for good, and you know, if it's like for your good well-being, mentally, spiritually, you know, psychologically, by all means, you know, don't try to like force others into a
Force it
relation.
onto
Yeah,
other people.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and if they're curious and ask questions, you know, if the person's reciprocated enough to understand, you know, instead of like, you know, you deal with those like, oh, you got to be this and try to force it down your throat. It's like, well, that's the wonderful thing. Everyone's different. You know, if everyone was the same, it'd be kind of boring.
Exactly, of course. And a lot of people who claim to be the most religious are sometimes the most judgmental, and you know, so
Well, they're not so holy
yeah,
themselves.
exactly.
So, but other than that, like, you know, regardless of what religion that, you know, anyone so choose to be, if they had like one page, it's just don't be a dick.
That's a great. I like that line. I like that. That should be up in the church when you're a priestess.
Don't be a dick.
I love that. Yeah. So, talk about some stuff you have coming up, because you and I are going to be together in Jacksonville next weekend. It's actually my official birthday.
Yes. So we both have a signing to do in Jacksonville for River Wrestling. River Wrestling Con?
I think it's River City
Wrestling Con
in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah.
And then after that, I have Shine. So I'll be in Clearwater, Florida for Shine. I'm going against the Woad, also known as the Weapon of Ass Destruction. Yet again, you know, because the first time that she got me the last show, you know, like, you know, she does have a big derriere, and I didn't realize how, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into.
I was the victim of that in a match with Summer Steel, the Buns of Steel. I call her the Buns of Distraction. I don't know if you know the move.
Buns of Distraction? If you get in the ring with Woad, you know, there's a reason why she's called the Weapon of Ass Destruction, because it nearly cleaned my clock, because I'm charging at her, and then she like got me with her ass, and you know, next thing I know, I was seeing black and white, like black spots and stars, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But at the end, like I had to choke her out. I had to choke her out with the whip. I had to choke her out at the end.
I see. She had to get her. You had to get your revenge, and I still haven't got my revenge on Summer Steel. For anyone that saw what happened there, she was the Buns of Distraction. She distracted me at the pool in the vignette the day before the tag match that I had against Stephan Bonner and her. And she tricked me to come up to her hotel room. Stephan Bonner, UFC Hall of Famer, choked me from behind.
What you doing up in the hotel room?
Well, she was just she was trying to. She wanted me to learn a few holds from me, a few of my secret maneuvers. And so she did in that vignette, and then the day of the match, she got me with her ass. She did like the Iceman King Parsons move, and she jumped up and hit me on the side of the temple.
Don't it give you a concussion?
Oh, yeah.
I think
Woad
gave me
across the ring with that ass.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Woad. She knocked me across the ring with... Yeah, so we both have something in common.
We both have been the victim.
Yeah, of asses.
The victim of toxic ass, for sure. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Renee Michelle, we are getting ready to segue into our next segment.
Ooh.
We're going to be welcoming a man that comes to us from overseas, from Italia. He is our official wine sommelier here at the law firm. And his name is Massimo Battista, and we're going to try some wines together.
Massimo Battista. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Massimo Battista. So we are about to welcome Massimo for our next segment here with the gorgeous Renee Michelle.
Ooh.
When you're involved in an accident, it can shatter your entire life. Suddenly, you have physical injuries, lost wages, medical bills, and you are stressed. You don't have to do this on your own. Don't leave your life in pieces. Call the Berman Law Group, and we'll help you put the pieces of your life back together. We aggressively represent clients who have been injured, but if there's no recovery, you don't owe us any fees or costs. We have recovered our clients over $250 million, and we want to get you the money you deserve.